Let us talk about some of the restrictions in calling functions from SQL statements and SQL expressions. First of all, you can only call functions declared at the schema level or in the package specification, as they have visibility to other objects in the database. You cannot for this reason call local functions declared within another subprogram or an anonymous block. These functions can only take formal parameters in the in mode. Functions having parameters in the out or in-out mode are not eligible. Both the formal parameter and the return value should be an Oracle built-in data type and not a PL SQL only data type like say Boolean. However, there is an exception here. You can pass a PL SQL only data type, for example binary integer, which can be implicitly converted to say a number as long as it is within the range of the accepting data type. A function can have side effects where it can modify the state of the data in the database tables or a package. In that case, it becomes ineligible to be called from a select statement. Let us see the restrictions when using functions in a select statement. Here in this code snippet, we have a function getDPTName which takes an input parameter pdptid and returns a varchar2. Inside the function, we open a cursor to fetch the department name for the passed department ID. We declare ldptName to hold the value returned by the cursor. Inside the function, we open the cursor, fetch the department name, and return it back. So this function is eligible to be called from a select statement, select empid, getDPTName for empdptid from the employee table. You cannot do an alter system or session inside this function, which will make it ineligible. If we try and issue a DML inside this function, Oracle will raise an error aura-14551 cannot perform a DML inside a query, because if a query changes data, it might lead to unexpected results. If this function tries to issue a commit or a rollback or a save point, which are transaction management statements, then again it would be ineligible to be called from the select statement. A select statement is supposed to return data and not end the transaction to cause commits or rollbacks, which most probably was not the intent of the calling client. The calling client needs to have that control. If you try and do that, Oracle will raise an error aura-14552 cannot perform a DDL, commit, or rollback inside a query or DML. Let us take a look at the restrictions when a function is used in the DML statement. Here is the implementation of a function which returns the department ID for an input department name. Again, using a cursor, it gets the department ID from the departments table for the given department name. We have declared a variable ldptid to hold the result of the cursor. So inside the execution section, we open the cursor and fetch the result in ldptid and then close it. Then we return it. Here is the code snippet where we are issuing an update on the employee table to set the empdptid with a value returned by calling getDPTid function with a parameter of IT for an employee ID of 10. This update would execute just fine. Again, like for select statements, the functions called in DML statements cannot issue alter session or system commands. A DML statement called in parallel cannot issue a DML statement inside the function, as the statement running in parallel in another session would not be able to see the changes. However, if the DML is not called in parallel, then doing a DML inside the function is allowed, as long as it is not on the same table on which the insert, update, or delete is done by the parent DML statement. So here, since we are updating the employee table in the parent DML, we cannot issue a DML on employee table inside the function. If we try and do so, Oracle will raise an error aura-04091, table employee is mutating, trigger function may not see it. However, if you were doing a DML on any other table, say an insert into a log table inside the function, that would be okay. Again, no transaction management statements are allowed. For instance, if you try and issue a commit inside it, Oracle will raise errors.